Z showed 3 sneaks for what the next update is going to be, one of which is purely a Todo one, a second one just seems to be related to a new logic block, but also possibly Todo considering a previous sneak, and a third one, which is pretty clear, in that it's ranked-based matchmaking. I'm going to talk about all of these sneaks, and for the unclear ones, I'll predict what they're going to be, and for the rank-based matchmaking, it's an interesting topic that I want to talk about, since there's a lot it could do for the ranked mode, which really isn't ranked as it stands. Before we discuss everything though, make sure to subscribe to stay informed on any Battlegrounds info, and now, let's get into the video. First thing to discuss is the sneak, which is pretty clearly Todo's Black Flash. Right off the bat, this is likely to be similar to Magito's Old Awakening, where you had to land a Black Flash to awaken, rather than some new ultimate move or a new base move. I say this simply because it'd be really fitting, since that's the closest thing Todo has to an awakening, unless you're doing that with some things some other Battlegrounds games do, where it's his 530,000 IQ whatchamacallit moment, that I really don't consider anything close to an awakening, since it's more of a gag before he gets comedically slammed by Hanami. Anyways, to continue off what I said before, it's likely that you press G before you do an animation where you dash forward incredibly quickly, and upon contact of anybody, you do the Black Flash. The alternative way this could turn out is that it just dashes for a certain distance before doing a kick, which is exactly how Magito's old Black Flash worked, except instead of a kick it was a Black Flash punch, which would be tougher to land, but actually not that terrible when you consider the sheer array of ragdolling moves Todo has, which would let him confirm into something like this pretty easily. However Z does it, I'm guessing it'd do decent damage, and then transition you into your awakening. It absolutely would fit, because before his Black Flash, he gets a ton of flashes of false memories, which is the title of the awakening. Even if it was something you could ragdoll cancel out of, it comparatively wouldn't be that bad for Todo as it was for Magito, because if you don't ragdoll cancel against Todo, you take pretty high damage from brute force, so he has a lot of ways to bait out ragdoll cancel, albeit not without getting punished. That could help him land something like this. Plus, he has swift kicks, which easily gives him whatever ragdoll he needs to hit the move. Overall, it's pretty interesting, though bad players might hate it if it works the same way as Magito's Old Awakening, because if you miss it, you lose a ton of Awakening, and be put back to square one. Shouldn't be a problem, I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. As for the other sneaks, there's this car sneak, which is definitely an emote sneak, but also probably a Todo move. Let's ignore this first part of the sneak for now, and talk about this thing. It shows a bunch of cars going down and up a ramp, and he says it's an emote and a logic block. Now, there's 2 ways I see this playing out. The emote could just be kind of like the go-kart animation in Rogue Demon, where you're not actually in a car and are just in a different kind of walk animation that makes it look like you're in a car. Then, the logic block would be conveyor belts, or sit block, or something like that as a new block, combined with boost blocks to launch people across the ramp, which is how you get the clip that Z showed, most likely. Caesar Salad would know way more about this stuff than I do, but that would make sense. The other way this could go is that it actually puts you in a car where you get car physics, as in you can accelerate down ramps, but your actual movement speed wouldn't be any different from walking or running outside of that. Even if it could accelerate down ramps like a car, it wouldn't be a problem or create any unbalanced running stuff in the base game, because look, there's basically 0 ramps in the entire map. There's a stairs for the subway, not enough of a big deal to matter, and then there's the stairs and buildings which are quicker to just hop down. Car physics like this can exist without screwing up the base game's balance, and it could also create these funny kind of clips like what was shown here, because of the physics. So, cool idea, however it turns out. As for the first part of the clip, I saved that for later because while it shows a car, it's highly likely this is a Todo sneak and not Z saying that we can dive bomb people with the car, as funny as that might be. It's pretty obvious if you look at the fact that there's cursed energy effects which indicate a move, and the animation actually looks similar to this elbow drop we saw sneaked earlier. So it's most likely a demo of the actual elbow drop move, and honestly, it looks really similar to Crushing Blow Aerial. Is that a bad thing? No. It fits on Todo's moveset that revolves heavily around ragdolls, and it could definitely make it easier to capitalize off of the ragdolls or stuff like brute force, and also give him yet another neutral tool to gap close with. If it is just a Crushing Blow Aerial reskin, that is kind of lazy, but it does work. However, I don't think it'll be just a reskin, and there's definitely something to it that sets it apart ever so slightly. Final thing I want to talk about is ranked-based matchmaking, and an overhaul to how ranked works. The way it works now isn't ranked in the slightest, so much as organized 1v1s and 2v2s. Essentially, once enough people step on the pads to meet the number requirements, they both get teleported to the fight. No checking of ranks, or matching people off skill, just 2 people that are available to fight going into the server. What this rework would do is instead make it based off a rank or elo that's gained by winning and lost by losing, so that good players go against good players and bad ones go against bad ones, at least in theory. Also, it could match people from every single ranked server instead of limiting the pool of people you can fight to just the server you're in, though it's also possible for it to not do that, but that would make rank-based matchmaking weird since it's unlikely people of your same rank are going to be in the same server as you every single time you're queuing, so it'd probably pull from every server. Anyways, I generally see this as a good thing, but there's also a lot of bad that could happen. Starting with positives, it'd make ranked more friendly for new players. Reason I say that being that skill-based matchmaking would prevent sweats like me from queuing up against people who only have 5 or 10 kills, and so those freshies with no idea what they're doing wouldn't go into ranked, get absolutely crushed, and decide to never touch ranked again, because they basically just serve as a punching bag for good players. Instead, they'll queue against similarly bad players who they can actually have a fair fight against, at least in theory. It doesn't always work that way because of smurfs, and the fact that there's always people who haven't started climbing yet that are at a ridiculously high skill level, and will thus demolish the low ranks until they get to a higher rank, but it'll at least do something for some people. I only play ranked JGS, as you can see from my videos, and what I'll say is that there's rarely any noobs in ranked 1v1s. Most of the people who play in it are actually pretty good, but what that means is that your average player is just going to get demolished because the pool of ranked players is so skilled and there's no protection for them, meaning that it's really hard to get into ranked if you're just a casual player. Other good thing about rank-based matchmaking is also a bad thing, but I'll get to it later, and it's that you get actual incentive to play ranked, besides it being a place that just have fair 1v1s. As it stands, ranked is useless. There's zero reason to play it except for having fair 1v1s, because kill farming in public servers by using ultimates is way more efficient on average, plus there's way more bad players that you can kill effortlessly than there are in ranked. It exists just for fun, but adding ranks would make it so that you have a goal to work towards, and you can sort of progress as well. That's also a bad thing though, and what I'm going to start my negatives off with, because when you add actual progression to ranked and incentives to win that isn't just fun, you're gonna get a lot more cheesers and people desperate to win by any tactic possible. That's because people will resort to the scummiest strategies possible for even a speck of elo, including running, playing extremely passive, and other strats that are unfun to fight against, and in some cases, just create a stalemate where nobody is playing the game. The easiest example is spamming parkour jumps on the wall in ranked that become pretty much invincible, which happens a lot in 2v2s from people who either don't want to die, or are getting 2v1'd and decide that time wasting is more enjoyable for them than trying to make some last stand boss raid. Because this stuff still exists, paired with people just really wanting to win to climb the ranks, people who don't care about honor or any of that imaginary stuff are going to use it, because if you can win by doing it, might as well. It's really a pitfall of any elo-based system. Other downside to rank-based matchmaking would be queue times, depending on how Z does matchmaking. I have no idea since I haven't actually looked at the testing server, or actually played the testing or done any testing before making this video, so as to not spoil myself. But it could make queue time super long and make it take ages to get a single match. That could also not be the case, but it's a possibility if there's nobody around your rank to match up with. Anyways, that's all I have to say for today. If you enjoyed watching, then make sure to subscribe so you get notified of other JJS updates and information. I'm Eternally, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.